Here are a few of the biggest surprises that people have found through AirBNB. Number 8. Security? A German woman, Yvonne Schumacher, wanted to have a nice Christmas holiday with her significant other in the US. She found a great place in California and booked it immediately. Schumacher stayed in the apartment beginning around the middle of December 2013, and she and her partner did everything you'd expect two adults in a relationship to do. However, 3 days into the stay, Yvonne noticed a blinking light behind some candles in the living room. Yeah, you guys know what it is. Turns out the host of the place was a complete perv, and there was a remote-controlled security camera in the living room. Yvonne said she was unaware of the camera, which allegedly captured both naked footage and private conversations. She did what a lot of people would do. She left the apartment and sued AirBNB. I personally would have broken the camera to pieces, but then again, that's just me. So what does AirBNB do? It posts a suggestion to hosts. If you have security cameras, you should tell your guests. But come on, how is this not a crime? Who knows the laws about having security cameras knowingly film AirBNB guests? Number 7. Totally fine. This is the mother of all AirBNB feuds. So, imagine this. You're a person who often travels for business and rent out your place to random folks on AirBNB for some extra cash. You skip using Craigslist because, duh, that's where all the crazy people are, right? Emily from San Francisco would disagree with you on this one. Back in 2011, during the Wild West days of AirBNB, Emily J. returned from a business trip to find her San Francisco apartment destroyed and her belongings ransacked by an AirBNB guest. Although, by the looks of it, it's clearly an understatement. The first thing she noticed was the pungent odor wafting from her apartment. She then opened the door to find a complete mess. Her guest had smashed a hole through a locked closet and stole her passport, credit cards, and her grandmother's jewelry. The guy also stole her camera, iPod, and old laptop with a backup drive containing pretty much her entire life. Her own scanner had been used to photocopy her birth certificate and social security card because why not steal her identity as well when you're trashing the place, right? But really though, on the flip side, I see this dude being nice and at least leaving the real documents for her to use. Her guest apparently had a little party going on because her neighbors saw people coming in and out of the apartment. They apparently did some weird stuff too, such as moving things around in a psychotic kind of way, cutting the tags off her pillows or hanging a painting of Paris on the wall that she had put away. The guests also used her fireplace to burn a set of sheets she had left out for them. Adding to the whole ordeal, the guy staying at the place was sending Emily messages all the time about how much he was enjoying her apartment. The worst part is that she tried getting help from AirBNB with little success. Back then, AirBNB didn't have any host protection program going on, nor did they allow contact information to be exchanged between host and renter until payment has been made. A policy obviously designed to prevent side deals where AirBNB couldn't include fees. Only after she posted the harrowing ordeal on her blog did the company finally took action. There's a positive thing to come out of this story because this event inspired AirBNB to change their policies and launch the Host Protection Program. The program covers hosts for loss or damage due to vandalism or theft caused by an AirBNB guest up to $50,000. Since Emily complained she barely managed to reach someone, they also launched a 24-hour customer hotline where they have operators ready to help out with whatever problem hosts might be experiencing with their AirBNB guests. Number 6. Smells like roses in the garden. What could possibly go wrong when you rent an AirBNB close to Paris, the city of wine, cheese, and amazing croissants? Well, apparently, decomposing bodies. A group of friends rented a house on AirBNB in the town of Pablito, 10 miles south of Paris. They were planning for a party weekend in the French town when they got a pretty unexpected surprise. Finding out there's a pool in the back no one told you about is one thing. Discovering a decomposing body of a woman in the garden is completely another. The body was located at the bottom of the property near a wooded area. Her head was on the ground and she was covered in branches. She was dressed but wasn't wearing shoes and had a ring with a large stone on her finger. Maybe she was a rich widow or something? No identifying documents were found with the body. The police questioned the group of renters, and Airbnb removed the rental listing from its site right away. It's thought that the body may have been placed near the woods deliberately, and officials believe foul play was probably a factor in the woman's death. Number 5. Only 22 beds. This has been dubbed as the worst Airbnb listing ever. Anyone booking an apartment in New York City would think of it as a sweet, sweet deal. $35 a night on East 27th Street. However, there was a twist to the story. You'd have to share the apartment with around 20 people, more or less. It looks like this Airbnb host, David Jaffe, had a slightly different strategy in mind than the one Airbnb stands up for. Jaffe had put 8 beds in one room, 8 in the second room, and 6 more in the hallways, making it for a total of 22 beds in a 2-bedroom apartment. I mean, I respect the ingenuity, but come on, poor execution. Apart from being shoved in with 20 strangers, there was a long list of requirements, including a minimum 30-day stay as well as bringing your own sheets and pillows. Really? 30-day stay? Sounds like a scam to me. There was even this thing of if there had been any suspicion of someone having anything illegal with them, the so-called manager could go through your belongings at any time. Seriously, who signed up for this? If at full capacity, the apartment potentially netted the host a whopping $250,000 a year. But don't think this guy is just a random guy out there. This dude was a former promoter, once listed on Club Planet's 10 most hated people in New York nightlife. Airbnb has since banned him from the site, but he continues to find ways around it and uses other short-term rental sites. He's been evicted from 3 apartments and is facing several lawsuits. Come on, for real though, 2 bathrooms for 22 people? This is like staying at the club. Number 4. Pet at your own risk. Mike Silverman, a 58-year-old American, and his wife were staying with a host in Salta, Argentina. Mike had stayed in Airbnbs from Alaska to South America and never had any problems whatsoever. However, he was in for a nasty surprise one morning. The rental he had booked didn't mention any pets, so Silverman was surprised to see a full-grown Rottweiler staring back at him one morning early into his stay. I guess there are worse things to wake up to in the morning, right? I mean, I'm just saying. He put out his hand in a friendly gesture, only to have the dog chomp down hard on his forearm. He received a 6-inch gash and was rushed to the hospital where he was forced to pay cash. But really though, why would you want to pet a random Rottweiler that showed up uninvited? At first, Airbnb denied to pay him for the surgery, claiming their liability coverage doesn't extend outside the United States. Mike went public with his story, and it was only when a reporter from the New York Times contacted them for a statement that Airbnb decided to cover his medical bills. Number 3. 7 partiers. When it comes to this Airbnb, when someone says that it just turned out to be monkey business, well, it wasn't just a corny joke. Neil Cave, a Tanzanian professor, and his family were staying in a luxury apartment in Simonstown, South Africa, in what seems like a pretty normal place. However, coming back home one day, he discovered a gang of pretty cheerful baboons had broken in and thrown a wild and crazy party while blasting Bruno Mars's latest album. Okay, I may have made some of that up, but I'm sure you guys get the idea. Neil's video of the baboons that ransacked his Airbnb had gone viral after the break-in. In the clip, you can see how Cave enters the kitchen only to find it completely turned upside down by 3 primates having a feast. On the floor, you can see a huge baboon eating a loaf of bread, while on the table, a more health-conscious baboon is digging into a bowl of salad. Well, I guess, who's cutting back on carbs for the summer. Just like that, one friend everyone has that runs around like crazy on parties. A tiny monkey is going crazy in the background that seems pretty excited about the idea of free food. It's safe to say he wasn't expecting this close of a look at South Africa's finest wildlife, though, and I bet he's lucky he didn't get an in-house safari experience with the Big Five. Cave revealed he had to call the police to get the baboons to leave, but despite the mess and chaos, they only broke 1 coffee cup. Wow, that's way better than most parties I've been to. However, the 7 baboons did leave him with a housewarming gift, or as Neil himself said, quote, "House is full of baboon and trash." Cave was charged 850 South African rands, or about $66 for the damage caused by the intruders. Really though, why wouldn't insurance on Airbnb cover this? Number 2, the unresponsive host. Imagine walking back to your Airbnb and finding your host dead. Okay, I know I went from 0 to 100 real quick, but that's how this story's gotta go. This one involves a Japanese tourist who was renting a room from San Francisco drag star Arturo Galster. Back in August 2014, a poor Japanese tourist came back to the Airbnb he had rented and found his host collapsed on the floor. Arturo Galster was unconscious but still breathing. However, this guy spoke minimal English and had no idea whatsoever how to call 911. He ended up running out on the street where he ran into a neighbor. The neighbor called an ambulance, but Arturo ended up passing away a few hours later. The guy first thought Arturo was going to be fine, but when he realized his host had passed away, he left the keys with the neighbor and quickly left the apartment. However, by the looks of it, this thing managed to happen more than once. 2 guys were renting an apartment for the summer in Brooklyn when things got weird midway through their stay. One of the guys began noticing messages on their host's Facebook profile, with people having posted things such as, "Hang in there" and "We need you." They soon found out, though, a friend of the host that the host had overdosed on drugs and was pulled off life support. Wow, that escalated quickly. However, that didn't stop one of the guys from staying in the apartment for a couple more weeks, though. In all fairness, even he admitted that it was weird. Number 1, the house sitter. Is there a bigger surprise than finding your own home listed on Airbnb? John and Ed, a San Francisco couple, are probably winning in the unpleasant Airbnb surprises category. They were on their way to Burning Man in 2015, the annual weird going on festival in the Nevada desert, when they got a rather unexpected email from one of their friends. "Thanks for letting us stay in your apartment this weekend." Saying they were confused is an understatement. They had never put their apartment on the site. Actually, they had left their San Francisco apartment with a professional house sitter. However, their friend was ready to confirm it was really their house. There was their car, their wedding pictures, even their cats were there. Turns out that the professional house sitter they had found on the website, trustedhousesitters.com, listed their apartment on Airbnb himself for a price of $2,000 for 5 days. The house sitter tried to explain himself, saying there was some kind of a misunderstanding, though. "I don't know how someone can accidentally rent out someone's house." Trusted House Sitter said that because the couple didn't use its on-site messaging tool to reach out to the house sitter, it was harder to investigate the complaint beyond deleting the profile. The couple said that next time they'll just recruit some friends to look after their apartment. Hey, you win some, you lose some. Here's what's next. Josh Farron, an artist of the Deseret News, closed on a new home. A few hours later, he was settling in his new place and getting some things organized. He was in his man cave getting ready to hang a few items when he saw an access panel on the ceiling. There was a small piece of fabric coming out of it, which made him curious